But yeah, wonderful that you are all here. I will not do the discussion mostly. Mostly that's Rune's part. He has to work now, finally. But I want to start with one question, which is like an icebreaker. How did you learn about esports? Maybe start with Cathrine.
So I guess a couple of years ago, we in Gard, we're a marine insurance company, and I don't think out of the box that's the most sexy place you can work. It's not like you wake up in the morning and think I will work in insurance. So we have spent quite a lot of time to discuss how to attract, especially young people. How are we going to get the message out there that the marine insurance industry is actually really, really exciting? Gard insures 40% of the world fleet, meaning, sorry, I struggle with that, meaning that 40% of the ships going across Grimstad and Arendal and all over the world is insured through Gard. We have a global responsibility with everything we do, so we can actually stop all global trade. And a ship can't enter a port without a policy, an insurance evidence. And our technology team is actually one of the biggest teams in the south of Norway with regards to development. So to get that message out there, to get that message out to young people that you can actually work with the newest technology and be part of global trade and influence global trade has been really important for us. Long story, short, but that started the idea of looking into employment branding. How can we get access to a platform to people that would never know what Gard is? So we started looking into several different options. We actually looked at another esports team, but at the same time, we had a collaboration with all of University of Agder, and we looked into could we make this more concrete, not just an agreement that you put in a shelf and you never use. Can we actually find a really good use case that we can start from day one to actually utilize? So that's where the idea came up. We had a couple of meetings together, and I think we turned around quite quickly. And I think it's a bit bold of Gard to go out of our comfort zone to do something quite far away from the lawyer insurance part. But that's, I think, where the journey started from our side.
Mm. Hilde?
Oh, yeah. I was looking for him.
Oh, no, he won't say anything. No,
No.
he's a quiet guy.
Yeah. So, well, thank you. First of all, esport in the form that we discussed today, I learned about through him. We didn't have a conversation. We had a session where he talked and I listened. So, but my background is I'm both a sport teacher and I also have my PhD in medieval history. So, of course, the thought of using game as a tool to reach students or to young or older one is not, well, I'm quite familiar with that, but not in this form. So I've been aware of the value that we can use also in other fields, from using the game and theory, the practice in almost anything. So I think it's very, very interesting that we now have a study program in academic esport and that there's such an awareness of what is generic in this, where is the transferable skills. And I think this very bold and very fast moving cooperation shows that the transferable skills is also one of the values with this study program.
And as you know me, but my background was also as a teacher and working with games as educational tools, and migrated a little bit from the boring games basically into the digital games and then into the esports realm, not as an esports player, but as a spectator and an observer. And the funny thing is, you guys both mentioned that you got it from me or the associations around the academic esports environment here, which is also very, very young, which is the same thing as in esports in general. Things happen fast and you have to turn around. Either you're on board or you're off. So when I started this program, I started reaching out and apparently people have heard about it. So it's quite interesting that you mentioned both of that. You heard it either through me or the university or the educational part of it, not necessarily from the commercial parts of the esports, because that's been a little bit frowned upon, I'm sure. But that brings me to the next thing, and I will ask you first. As the vice rector of education, do you think that having a program such as this, even though you're not maybe too familiar with it right now, could be sort of like a magnet to draw students to the region?
I think so, absolutely. And I think also from a university perspective, it's quite bold to start up such a program. It's new, not only to us, but to our sector. The interest that it had from the students for the first call was immense. And of course, it's only natural that it drops a little bit. It's still very, very high interest. So I think, yes, absolutely, it can attract students and competence to our region. However, as a university, we really have to support this. We know how hard it is to start a new study program because you can't sort of use the interest of the new things for however long.
Yeah.
You have to start working immediately with changing, adopting, secure the quality, and you also need a very strong research network around it, and then you need cooperation to really boost it, not the first and the second year, but for a long time and develop. And you have to reach sort of the next level before you really are a strong point in the region and attract on a more steadily basis. So I think this is very important for us, and I think also it is a responsibility for us to support it and have good structures so that we really can do this. Keep attracting students. I would also say competence, because this is competence to the region.
And maybe also get ex-professional players that we talked about here earlier, when they're done with their careers, maybe they want to come here and do an academic career and go either into the university business or beyond, because that's what I'm thinking that I want to ask you. So if we get them here, one of the key problems we have in the south of Norway is to keep people here. And could that be also one of the reasons why you are venturing into this? It's like not necessarily because, oh, we want to have a lot of esports players in our company, but if we have esports team, if we connect with these, maybe the people that study stays here.
So first, to answer it, I would like to give an example from Gard, because we have people applying from all over the world. People from China, England, anywhere in the world are applying, and we have people who's also very young, who's actually moving here from all over the world. And it's been very important for us to set up a culture and an environment where people actually enjoy working, so they stay. And we see that it's not enough that the person working in Gard is satisfied. You also need to have the spouse liking work, living in the south of Norway, enjoying Arendal in cold November. So you need to have a whole setting that is working to be able to succeed with that over time. So I think for us, that's been a focus area. We have several collaborations in Arendal, together with Arendal Kommune, to make sure that you have social events together across various companies to make sure that that people who are actually moving here without any family or anyone they know from before actually stay and enjoy living in Arendal for a longer period of time. So that's been a focus area, but it's been difficult to get there. But I do see now that there's the university, and it's quite many other companies in Arendal and the south of Norway who is now collaborating to make that possible.
So you think maybe like a work esports league could be something interesting?
Well, yeah, we have talked about that before, right? And it can be esport, it can be social event, it can be a combination of the two. We're already doing that, just like we have a course which is how to apply if you want to have a loan. Easy things like that, that is bringing people together, and then they go for a Friday beer, and then they are planning the next session. Then it could be a gaming event. It could be anything, but I think having these arenas where people can actually meet, I think it's really important.
And when we designed this course, we were extremely focused on the flexibilities of the courses. And of course, the university has to approve this, and I don't think they always know what they're approving.
Oh, yes, we do.
But no, no, but again, but the thing is that, and I still will ask Cathrine this. I'm sorry, I'm just jumping a little bit, but when the students have this flexibility, does that make it also easier to connect with them? Like to, I know that we have students that are not on internships, but they're doing their practical subjects there. Does this open up new opportunities for you to see the quality and what the students are for, or open up new windows?
So I think it's like we talked about many times before, it's a mutual benefit out of all of these activities that we do. But I think from a Gard perspective, I think maybe the most important part is the areas in Gard that is not technology. Because I think for the tech team, the IT people, this is, everyone knows that. But if we are going to reach our ambitions for the future, we are going to be a digital leader within our industry, that is not the technology team that is going to deliver that. So you need digital and other types of skill set also in the business side. Take the 2 people we had now for internships in a team that would never before have asked for resources with that type of skill sets, which is just amazing to see what they are able to do. So I think bringing people in, letting them both learn how it is to work in an actual organization, and for the organization to see, hey, these people with a skill set, that's interesting. Maybe I can use them to something. So I think that's part of our change journey in Gard, that these students can actually help us with.
So it's basically the keywords collaboration and co-creation. And amazingly enough, our strategy at our university is co-creation. And this is a program set together with 3 different faculties. What does that have? So like, what impact does that have for a university to show that we are very broad, not only in saying it, but we're actually showing it?
Well, as you say, it's part of our vision, and I think it's very important that we not only talk about it, but shows how it is done. It's also important for this study program to have even more different subjects to understand what is this. How can we use it? And I think that comes out of one of the synergies is that internally in the organization. I also think that, well, this is very digital, it's hybrid, it's high tech, it's all that cool things. But you often say that it is this, but it's also about the people. Yes, it's about the people. And we talk about these transferable skills. But here we can also explore across our university and organization the new skill, the fusion skill, which I think we really, really have to understand. What is it? It's something else that than we interact with digital tools and a machine. It's more that we jump together into a pot, and it's a melting pot. We melt together. What is this? What does that mean? What does it mean as for us as the human? How do we interact, melt together? And I think if we also can explore this, always sort of be of the next step. Yes, we have this new study program. It's very flexible, good cooperation, everything, but always the next step. And that is important for us as a university, to have someone who pushes us. And then with different faculties and different subject is involved, this will spread, because we need to understand what is this fusion? What can we do with it?
Because that is what I normally get when I travel to schools, high schools and stuff. They call me, could you tell people a little bit about what this is? Because we're so afraid of our kids sitting inside playing all the time. That's the general idea. Everyone is playing all the time. If they go to the soccer field 5 hours a day, that's fine. If you go to the library and sit with books 8 hours a day, that's fine. They're going to be highly intelligent people. But to make them understand what it really is, what these skill sets are. And I think that to put it into educational form, in Norway, we have it as a high school program. Now we have it in higher education. We have our first PhD program going into this now. It's very important. And that brings us into the 2 major things we were talking about here today. One thing is the research part, which we will come back to a little bit later. But you mentioned attracting people, whole families, kids and everything. But also, you are one company. We have clusters for like technology clusters. We have all kinds of clusters. do you think that uniting, for example, companies in, let's call it an esports league or something like that, could that have an effect? So like to build companies together too, like to have this friendly debacle between them, like on a different level than just competing, because insurance and like Cathrine does something totally different. Could it be something that you guys could merge over and discuss and get more informally connected?
So today we have sailing regattas between 4 different companies in Arendal. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just a different format. So I think the quick answer is yes. And we did a very quick research within our employees in Gard on sort of who's a gamer and who would like to participate if we do something like that before we made the sort of the agreement a year ago. And of course, basically everyone does it some way or another, someone more structured and more active. So I think it's definitely a potential there. And I think one of the key motivations from my side to start this collaboration is breaking down stereotypes and to actually let people in the company understand what this is. It's not someone sitting in a basement alone, it's everyone. So we've actually done some, I would say, explanation in Gard around what this actually means. So I think yes.
Yeah, because I was privileged enough to be there. Our students had an open day for them. I think you lost a lot of money that day because people were actually running out of meetings to get their new high scores on the machine because they heard that another person had been down and beat the record. So they literally, I don't know if I should say that, they literally left their office to go back and try to regain that thing. But one of the things I noticed was that I saw my students instructing people that are, first of all, 20 years their senior and had a lot of letters before their names with CEO and CFO and God knows what it was, but totally ignoring that fact. And I was seeing them on the dance machines, not looking very pretty, but...
Are you talking about me now? Or?
No, I was not talking about you. I was talking about the two people that, it's actually very concrete. There are two people, they stood there for like 10, 15 minutes debating with themselves, should I venture on this machine? I really want to, but does it look too bad? And then one of our students, she was like, well, you can't be worse than him. And she pointed at me, which is true. So we had a dance with I think it was the CEO, me and him were dancing together. It is my first and last time on the machine. It was not, as I said, very pretty, but they went on afterwards and did like 2 or 3 dances when we were standing there talking. And you got that instructional thing. And I think that kind of attitude with different companies meeting together too, I think we're building something, and this is why you are here too, and the collaboration we have.
And I think it's another aspect, especially for Gard being a global company. So where we are growing the most is probably Asia, our Asian offices. So we also see a potential around December to set up sort of a battle between the offices. We have 13 offices around the world. And I think esports is a great way to actually linking these offices into doing something. You can't physically meet everyone, but you could do like a high score and an easy game and everyone would be involved. So I think it's a combination of local and global that is very interesting here, because you can have the physical thing locally and you can have the virtual part more global. So that's an interesting combination.
And then I will ease one small question to you, and then I will ease it into Hilde, because they are really closely connected, because that has to do with research. Because one of the things we talked about was like, how can we see if Gard gets something out of this? And we've started some low-level research about questioning our students who knew about Gard to begin with and who knows about it now. And out of the people I've asked, and these are very informal talks right now because we're putting into more formalized form, about 65% more says they know what Gard insurance is now. The thing which is okay for our students, they get sponsored by you, so they should know it. But
They should.
but the thing is that we have the Kraken teams, and now nurses are saying the same thing. Multimedia students are saying the same thing. Mechatronics students are saying the same thing. Oh, we know Gard, they're sponsoring you. It's an insurance company. And that is the first step of being recognized. And if they recognize you with esports, you might not seem so boring. So you no, but you called it boring. So they are not. But that brings us over to this part of the research part. This is a very small thing for them, but do you see potential for huge research projects for the university when we want to venture into big international projects, and not only for the esports, but the relations to esports?
Yes, I do absolutely see potential within the research. And I think the difficult question is, which part would you focus on first? Because you really have to focus on something to make it sound. Because there's so many potentials that we can see easily. Oh, this and this and this. So to have used time enough to see what should the scope be for the research, what is, also to brand it, connected, of course, to this university, where are we strong, where should we grow, what is the potential also national to sort of to be the hotspot nationally. So there's a lot of questions to do before you actually set your directions. I absolutely believe there is huge potential, and I also think it's very important. It's not just important, it's crucial for this study program to grow, to develop, and also to keep having high quality. It needs to change, and it should change according to what the research informs you. So I think the study program and the research, they inform each other, and they are equally important. I also would say, when I said there's so many things you could pick and choose, because now we have this type of company, and this way you can connect, and you can just, you found your path and go with it. But if you think of, okay, we are in university, we should also help solving the big societal issues. How can we do that? One of them is within healthcare. How many of you haven't heard the last days or weeks or months that we lack people in healthcare, and it will be worse and worse and worse when the years to come? Well, I think, and we say, well, we need to do to have better technology. My generation, when we need this help, probably we need to use technology. Then we need to learn to trust technology. How can we learn to trust technology and see the benefit and see it's not dangerous? Well, it is a machine, it is digital, it's so and so, but how can we trust it and trust the interaction? And then again, you melt together. We need to have the fusion skill. So I think on a broader level, also research in that direction is very, very interesting. How do my generation learn to trust technology so that we can use it on a completely different level many, many years to come? And I think this is also interesting, but it's a very different direction than what you are talking about. So I think it's about to explore all the possibility and then see, okay, where are we strong? Where do we have possibilities? Where can we make a difference? And then go for it.
And just to add to that, because I think that research example you had to Gard, that's for us at least the first step. So then you so we have a more brand awareness. That itself doesn't help us necessarily. Then comes the next step to actually explain that we are not boring. We're an exciting company. These are all the technologies you are allowed to work with. This is how you can actually influence global trade. So I think the next step is very important for us. How do we go from a Gard logo and marine insurance to this is what you can actually do? And that's where I think the students come in. They will be hopefully our sponsors, coming back to their friends at the university and say, hey, I was allowed to do these tasks working for Gard as an intern, or I wrote my master thesis there. So I think the next step now will be the crucial step to actually get the value that we hopefully are able to achieve together.
And maybe also look into like industrial PhDs where they work for your program and sort of develop something there.
Yes.
Because that brings me over to we talk about the transferable skills all the time, and as I've shown in my research and Tobias has shown, is that we work with these like problem solving skills, adaptability skills, all these things. I know this is extremely important for us to teach them as well, but can you see in the use for this kind of skill sets in your line of business, for example?
Yeah, and I think I would like to go broader than my line of business, because I think in tech, yes, it's a given. But I think, again, the most interesting part here is to include this in all of Gard, in underwriting, in sales, in how we handle claims, how we think about preventing losses in the future, how the communication team is working, how the HR team, we talked about that, is working. So I think these transferable skills are more than the tech people. And I think that's what will really take us to the next level.
And could we connect this with the university to see, so this is what the businesses say they need, this is what they do. How can we connect that to us? You know, like just not let it be this island called Academic Esports. We have about 40 students coming out every year. Just get the synergies of this so that it evolves into become much more powerful than just a group of students.
Well, I think it's exactly the way that you already operate in the study program. You have close connections with the world around us. And I think that is also one of our goals as a university, that every study program, we should either have internship or possibilities to do your thesis together with a company, so that we are always relevant for the next chapter in the student's life. So I think that's very important. But I think also as a university, and we should also think of, well, how can we adapt our study program and our research, because the world changed, but how can we change the world? Of course, you know, this needs to be so strong, of so high quality, that we can also have our impact in how it's developed. And then the University of Agder and the region of Agder and Arendal as a hot city for good competence, then we have our strength, when we are not just following and, you know, really up to date, up to speed with what is happening, but actually improving what's happening and putting our mark on what's happening.
So we get to set the agenda.
Absolutely, you said it.
No, but this is one of the reasons why we are here too. You know, that you are probably one of the biggest companies, if not the biggest. I don't know who's at least.
Probably one of them at least.
Yeah. So you have a lot of impact. People would like to be there.
Yep.
We are by far the biggest educational institution in the region, at least. But one thing I've noticed that we talk about a lot, and I think that you talked about it earlier too, is like we're talking always about Agder, and this debate is about Agder too. But in order to be a strong business center in Agder, a strong educational center in Agder, we need to think outside. So research can bring us there. But what do you think is the key thing that you can help us with to promote our university? And then afterwards, what do you think we as a university can promote Gard with outside of what we do here?
So I think we already talked about how we can do something together in December. And I think given our 13 offices around the world, I think that's at least a low-hanging fruit, that when you have the Olympics and you're traveling the world with the Gard logo on your sweaters and hoodies, I think for us to actually reach out to Tokyo office, to Singapore, Hong Kong, New York, all the places that we are already located, and do something together, I think that's at least an easy way to start. And then we can choose the format. Is it just the office itself, or is it to actually reach out to universities in these 13 countries? So I think that's at least a way to start.
Yeah, just how we can, the other way around. And I think it's just being a professional partner, as with anyone, that we cooperate from day one. We set the agendas for what we are going to do from day one, that we listen to what like in this instance, what you tell us, what is important, what you need of competence, where's the big changes, where's the big challenges, and so we can meet that, because we need to understand how the world is changing, so that we also can change our study programs, so that the students do have a job that's relevant and that they are relevant for the job. So I think it's always the dialogue, and be an open partner, be willing to really listen, and then always support what we're doing with research.
No, because we also see, and this might be towards the end of our discussion here, we talk about the antisocial gamer. You know, like I think that everyone in the room here knows that is at least a myth. But what we see now is that after we started opening the labs, we have the arcade rooms, we have all that a lot of students that have nothing to do with academic esports or esports in general have gathered in our arcade rooms. They are doing the dance machines, they're doing the arcades, they're playing, and they're asking, can we borrow your lab? Can we do those things? And I'm thinking, do we see a different factor here? You know, that you talked about the thing that we need to understand the digital world, but also call it, what do I call it? Humans in the digital world as well, because as a university, that is our job, to teach other skills than just the technical skills and the factual skills. And I think that's also for a company that's supposed to survive over a long time and have loyal employees, need to have an extra dimension where you cross the different kind of sections of a company. Do you think that active esports players, academic esports students, former esports player, returning researchers in the same field could benefit that kind of thinking, or promote that kind of thinking, basically because esports in itself is a social activity? And that goes to like an ending comment for both of you.
Well, I think it's the difference between the physical dancing machine and playing online. I think it's two different things. That's why we want to test out the online version in December. To not have the dancing machine, because that's sort of a low-hanging fruit. Everyone can go on to the dancing machine with a little bit sort of push. But to actually move people online, I think would be really interesting to see, because that's what we want to achieve, right? To have the same discussions, collaboration, pushing people in that direction. So I think taking it one step further now and moving people online, seeing the high score to actually play a game online, I think that will, if we're able to achieve that, I think that will take down the bar even more, increase the understanding of what this is, break the stereotypes. So I think if we have achieved that, I think we should be really proud, because I think it's two different things.
Yeah, I very much agree with you, you know, taking the next step. Because we have this saying, if you see a bunch of kids and you throw them a ball, you know, you have to wait about 60 seconds and you see what happens. They start playing, they start interacting. They don't need anything else, don't need any rules, don't need nothing. So how can we sort of do the same within academic esport and in the digital world? How can we throw that ball and just see what happens? And I also think that it's needed with a little more push than going to the dance machine, because also in the dance machine you can easily leave and at least there is someone worse than yourself. So I think a little more push. And again, I think it's how much have you done the interaction with the machine? How much are you still in your head with all these stereotype things about what it is and who is really doing it? So I think again, but that push is needed so that more people can try it and see that it's something different. But then again, I think it's important for us to be specific when we talk about it. The academic esports, for me, it's super interesting. I'm a sport teacher myself. When I see the subject you put into it, I say, oh, this is very good. It's not gaming. It's something else. You have health, how they sleep and eat and train and whatever. So, but when we are talking about it and let anyone else test it, it's sort of the gaming part of it that we push them into. So how can we all the time speak about academic esport as this is what it is. The skills come from there. The gaming part is a good thing, is a fun thing, is a social thing. That is the ball that you throw into the group.
And this is the thing I see too, that I was just talking to Cathrine about. It's like all of a sudden you get the interns to work somewhere, and then all of a sudden, oh, they know this too. You know, that they have versatility that is really good. And it's like, okay, we're going to try it in there too. But so at the very end, you get about 1.5, 2 minutes each to answer me this question. And now it's going to be on tape and everything like that. So it's really, if I suggested that, wouldn't it be smart to build a research center, research cluster in the region with the university, companies around, looking into this, see where are the boundaries, what can we do? Don't you think that will be a good idea? Let's start with you first, Hilde.
I think this has moved from a dialogue to very persuasive questions. So, but who can say no to that this is a good thing to do? Of course, building strength. And what you say is really building good structures for the research and for the education and the cooperation. Of course, this is interesting. And then the next thing is, okay, let's see how can it be done?
Yeah.
So I think we have good examples in this region of collaboration between companies already. So for me, it's using that network and taking it further into sort of the university setting. So I think it will be beneficial for everyone, and we're back to making it as attractive as possible to getting people to be willing to move here. And when they move, they will stay and they will be happy here. And the people we already have, who may be from Arendal, that they can get something new out of living here. So I think all that type of collaboration is just good for us, and it's not in conflict with competing against each other at the same time.
Well, I'm sort of thinking that that was a good way of ending this debate, and I really hope that we can make it happen, because I think there is so much interesting to do here. But Seth mentioned this about the important thing. If you're going to have an esports or academic esports program, call it what you want, you need to have the faculty that has knowledge, that has the credentials to teach, and then you also have to have teaching programs. That was my odd thing when I looked at the Norwegian system. They made high school subjects called esports without a curricula and without a teacher's education making them able to teach it. So they made the subject before they created the teachers. And this was something we talked about in this conference too, how important it is for a university, if we're going to be serious and offer this education, that the people working here has the knowledge, the credentials, and the experience to do this. And if you don't, make sure you get it. And that is through collaboration, because there are not so many people in the world with this competence now. Like Seth said earlier, most of them are probably in this room. So, well, thank you for participating in our conversation. And I hope that everybody got some insights into what we do. And I'm sure that you can reach out to both of them to get some experiences on how you want to do things. So thank you very much.